Hello, good evening, Carolina. How are you? Are you there? Is everything okay? I cannot hear anything just in case, Carolina. I don't know if the internet connection is wrong again or perhaps your microphone.
Listen to part of a lecture in an anthropology class.
Good evening, teacher.
Hello, good evening, Carolina. Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, teacher. I was reconnecting, I think.
Okay, I think it's working now, so let's take advantage, all right? The good thing is that I don't have to share my screen. It's only audio. Let's work the way we know, please, Carolina. I'm going to play this lecture for you. Take notes because I'm going to be asking you some questions. Be careful here because we have a lot of new words and new vocabulary. Okay, let's pay attention, please.
So we've been discussing 16th century Native American life, and today we're going to focus on the Iroquois and Huron peoples. They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region of North America. Now,
Okay, just up to that part to begin with. Were you able to, well, to hear to that lecture? Carolina, let me know, please.
Yes, teacher. I take some notes about the lecture, and it was about the life of century in America. I couldn't hear the number of century. It says about heroes, people, I think, and one more, that northeast region.
Okay, very good. I think I was able to hear to everything. It was very laggy, all right? If you want, you can turn off the camera. Perhaps that's also affecting a little bit, okay? But good. We're going to try to listen to what century it was. Try to be sure that, well, what specifically she's going to talk about, because yes, we're going to talk about life, but a specific type of life. All right, so I'm going to play it once again. I want to know if you can hear me well, Caroline. I was able to hear you, but it was very laggy.
Sorry, teacher. I already buy Mega, so I think it now works.
Okay, okay, very good. So please, you don't need to turn on the camera because that's going to use a lot of our information, all right? So don't do it. Only with the microphone, it's more than enough. And it's good. What you said is correct, but there are some important details that are missing. I'm going to play once again. And again, there are two words that are not English, okay, are names. Be careful with that one. You're going to try to imitate what she's saying in the sense of those names, because we don't know. Those are names in a different language, all right? One of them actually it's English, but in a way that you're going to understand later on. Pay attention to what century it was to those names and other details, I'm going to play those seconds again. All right, so let's pay attention.
Okay, teacher.
Focus on the Iroquois, Native American, discussing 16th century Native American.
Okay.
So we've been discussing 16th century Native American life, and today we're going to focus on the Iroquois and Huron peoples. They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region of North America.
Okay, up to that part, just one more time and try to complete every detail that we have up to that point. Okay, so here we go, the last time.
Anthropology class.
So we've been discussing 16th century Native American life, and today we're going to focus on the Iroquois and Huron peoples. They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region of North America. Now,
All right, up to that point. So what else can you tell me about this first part, Carolina?
Okay, teacher. I hear that she talks about the 16th century of Native life of America, and she also said that is going to focus on Iroquois and heroine, I think, of people who lives in the northeast region of North America.
Okay, great, very good. You have one of those names. That's very good. Let's try to listen to the other one. And you're going to tell me if she says people or peoples, and you're going to tell me why do you think it's that way. So one more time, just that part.
the northeastern Huron
Okay,
peoples.
okay,
And
yes.
today we're going to focus on the Iroquois and Huron peoples.
Okay, so what is she saying specifically at the end? Well, what can you hear there, Carolina? And why do you think she's using that word? Is she saying people or peoples? And why?
I think she said peoples. I think maybe she's using in plural because she's using that word in the way as a gentilicio. I think it's referring to the people who just live in US, I think in North America. I think that maybe.
Okay, good. You're not that far from that one. Not specifically that word, but yes, we can use people in plural, right? Peoples, when we're not talking about, right, a group of, let's say, persons in other ways, right? When we're talking actually about one type of, could be community or one group that is identified with one kind of ethnicity, right? So it can say the peoples that lived in the, I don't know, here in Latin America, for example, right? The Incas, I don't know, right? It's not considered an empire, but the Incas culture, there were many peoples, right, in that kind of culture. So to that we can call peoples. So good, that's a very good observation. And also, you were able to get the name. Those are names or those two people that we're going to analyze now, right? So pay attention to the next part because she's going to try to explain why and what they used as resources, and specifically one very important thing that she's going to describe in detail. All right, so let's keep going.
They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region of North America. Now, back then, their lives depended on the natural resources of the forest, especially the birch tree. The birch tree can grow in many different types of soils and is prevalent in that area. Now, can anyone here describe a birch tree?
They're tall and white. The bark, I mean.
Yes, the birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this white bark, is waterproof.
All right, up to that point, because we're going to go deeper and deeper related to that element that is going to be very important in this lecture. But what can you tell me? What extra information were you able to hear this time?
Well, she started to talk about one of the peoples, I think, and she said that they live in the east region of North America and the least region of North America. She also mentioned that their lives depend on the natural resources, and at the end she mentions a bridge tree, I think something like that. That a student said that it was tall and white, and also the teacher mentioned that was bark, that the bark was waterproof.
Thank you very much. Great, great. We have very good information. I'm going to play once again. Try to get some other characteristics, all right, related to this tree. Okay, yes, because in fact we're talking about a tree. Try to get the name. Okay, one more time. It's very close. It's missing just one little detail. Try to get the name once again and some other characteristics. All right, so let's go back a little bit. We're doing very good.
The birch tree can grow in many different types of soils and is prevalent in that area. Now, can anyone here describe a birch tree?
They're tall and white. The bark, I mean.
Yes, the birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this white bark, is waterproof.
Okay, and I'm going to do it one more time, and I'm going to add, one extra thing because we already heard that one. You're going to try to tell me what is bark, all right, and give me some details about it. Okay, so we have two things to do. Give me some details about the tree itself, that is at the beginning, some characteristics, and then try to tell me what bark is. So here we go, one more time.
The birch tree can grow in many different types of soils and is prevalent in that area. Now, can anyone here describe a birch tree?
They're tall and white. The bark, I mean.
Yes, the birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this white bark, is waterproof.
All right, so up to that part, what can you tell me about, well, this time, right? Were you able to identify other elements? Let me know, please.
Yes, teacher. Well, she said a birch tree, I think, and then they mentioned that that tree has a bark. I think maybe could be like a ceiling. Um, the student mentioned that that bark was tall and white, and then the teacher mentioned that it's useful to protect the tree because it's waterproof. So I imagine that it protects the water.
Okay, thank you very much. We have very important elements. Only some details to connect these better and to make it understand. We have 1 minute, so I'm going to share my screen with you, okay, just to show you some things, because I told you we have a lot of new vocabulary here, but you're doing, I mean, the connection between those elements in a very good way. But I'm going to show you a picture to make clear those details. And it's over here, all right? So this is the name, all right? So this is birch, that's the name of the tree. This is the birch tree, all right? Birch tree. And this is the bark, all right? That's the bark. That's why if you remember, they say it's the outer layer, right? That it's protecting the tree in a certain way. And you remember very well, it is waterproof, right? So this is the bark, which is white, and it's relocated, of course, in this part of the tree, right? I think it's clearer, right? It's the layer that this tree has, and also some other elements. This is not the name; it's something related, but it's going to be this one, all right? The Iroquois and the Huron. Those are going to be the names. And to finish, I'm going to stop sharing just to tell you the following. And also, in some part, I'm going to play this to finish this conversation because because this element could be important if you were taking this test, okay? You missed two important elements that are the following ones. Let me play those with you. Okay, it's a little bit before, over here. Okay, over here. Okay, so this tree is able to grow in many different types of soils. Okay, and that's very important. It means that these kind of trees are not only in that region, right? You can find those trees in many other regions as well. And okay, and it's prevalent in that area. It means that there's a lot of those trees and they can use them right in the way they want. And later on, that's going to have some other sense because they are going to do almost everything using those materials. All right. I don't know if you have any questions about this vocabulary and some other elements, Carolina. Let me know, please.
No, teacher, it's okay. Thank you.
Very good. Great. There you go. So take into account those words could be very important. Thanks for being in this conversation. And we'll be, well, in contact tomorrow for the oral presentation. Have a good night, Carolina.
Thank you, teacher. Same to you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Hello, good evening, Stefania. How are you?
Hi, teacher. I'm fine, and you?
Great. I'm fine, thank you. So I'm sharing the sound of my computer to do the usual. All right. So take notes. This one is going to be a little bit not different, but there's a lot of new vocabulary. All right. There are some words that are not English, but I want you to get them, all right, as the more similar that you can, all right, even though we don't know the meaning of those words, but you're going to get where they are. And we have names of specific objects that are going to be important, all right? So that's why it's very important to take some notes. Are you ready to take some notes, Estefania? Let me know, please.
Give me a moment. Yes.
Okay, very good. So let's start. I'm going to start playing this with you. The first part is going to be very short, but pay attention, right? Tell me what this person is going to say, what is going to be the topic perhaps, and try to get those two names that one of them is not English and the other one is not that common. Here we go.
A lecture in an anthropology class.
So we've been discussing 16th century Native American life, and today we're going to focus on the Iroquois and Huron peoples. They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region of North America.
Okay, I'm going to play once again. We know this is part of the anthropology class, but again, try to get those names, and if you can get extra information, that's going to be very good. So here we go once again.
And today we're going to focus on the Iroquois and Huron peoples. They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region of North America.
All right, so what can you tell me about this first part, Stephanie?
Okay, I listened that we are going to focus on the Iroquois, something like that, and the Huron peoples.
Okay, good. You're
But
doing
I
very
don't
good.
know what it means, Iroquois, or I don't remember the pronunciation. Sorry, teacher.
It's okay. No, it's perfect. Actually, that's the word that's not English, right? That's why I told you, try to get that as similar as you can to the way she's pronouncing that, and you're doing good. Is the Iroquois, all right? The Iroquois, and good. That's not English, all right? That's the name of one of those peoples. Now, this is my following question. What do you think she's saying peoples when we know that the common use of that word is only people, right? We never use that in plural. Do you think that there is an exception? If you do, why? And in which case do you think we use that exception?
Peoples in plural. I don't know, teacher. I think it's only people because it's the plural way to say a person.
Correct. But let's listen once again to that part.
Lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region, focus on the Iroquois and Huron peoples.
All right, so once again.
Iroquois and Huron peoples.
All right, so we're talking about peoples. What do you think then? I'm going to give you a clue. I'm going to help you in this one. We can say peoples, but when the meaning is different, when it's not the plural of person, all right? And in this context, if we're talking about anthropology, and she's mentioning some weird names, right? Different names, the Iroquois, for example, and the other ones, and those are peoples. So what do you think is peoples in this case?
I think it's used to refer the I don't know, how do you say, I don't know, something that is yours.
Okay, could be, but
Oh,
it's a little bit more specific. What do you think about Bolivia? In Bolivia, there was a lot of controversy because in the previous government, right, it's now the government also, they recognized the existence of, I think, 36 peoples. So what do you think is peoples there?
mm, I don't know, teacher.
Okay, it's going to be close to a group, okay, but related to identity, to ethnicity. For example, in Bolivia, the Quechuas is one people, okay? Then you have, could be the Aymaras, could be another people. You have two peoples. Then inside the Aymaras, you have other peoples, okay? So a people, you can say a people refers to a group, an ethnic group, okay? Ethnic group, which has an identity, which has some history, all right, but is unique, all
Okay.
right? In that case, you can say people and peoples because you're not using that as plural, you're using that as the name for that group, as the identity and the ethnicity of that group. Okay, good. So in this case, this lecture is about two peoples, right? Let's listen one more time to those names.
Focus on the Iroquois.
Iroquois, right? Iroquois
And Huron peoples.
Huron peoples, right? Iroquois and Hurons peoples. So those are the two peoples we're going to analyze. Now, where are those peoples located, Stefania? Do you remember? Or where they
Um,
were?
I don't remember, teacher.
All right, so I'm playing once again. It's in the next part, just a few seconds.
Okay.
They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region of North America.
Okay, so what do you get there?
A region of North America, the North, something like with Eastern, something like
Okay,
that.
good, you're doing great. Let's listen once again to that.
And Huron peoples. They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region.
Good, northeastern Great Lake region, right? Because you know that there are very big lakes in North America, right? So in the northeastern Great Lake regions.
What is a
Region
Great
of North
Lake?
America.
One more time, please, Stefania.
What is a Great Lake?
Great Lake, it's the name of that region, okay? That
Okay.
is close to those lakes. You know that there are big lakes in North America, right? The region that is close to those big lakes is the Great Lake region.
Okay.
All right, good. So we have that so far. Now it's going to come, it's okay, 6 minutes. Here comes the very important part. Pay attention because they're going to talk about one element and then they are going to talk about one very specific part of that element. And it's very important to understand this lecture. All right. So again, take notes here. Even though you don't know the words, I told you right here we have a lot of new vocabulary. Try to write the words in the way you pronounce the words. It doesn't matter if you don't know them. All right. Just try to write them in the way you pronounce them. Let's go.
Now, back then, their lives depended on the natural resources of the forest, especially the birch tree. The birch tree can grow in many different types of soils and is prevalent in that area. Now, can anyone here describe a birch tree?
They're tall and white. The bark, I mean.
Yes, the birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this white bark, is waterproof.
Okay, so I'm going to play one more time. You're going to explain in general, Estefania, but try to take a look at this. Try to tell me, all right, what is that element? Try to tell me some characteristics of that element that they are talking about. And then try to tell me about that part that they are mentioning related to that element. Okay?
Okay, teacher.
Okay, so here we go. Once again.
Especially the birch tree. Back then, their lives depended on the natural resources of the forest, especially the birch tree. The birch tree can grow in many different types of soils and is prevalent in that area. Now, can anyone here describe a birch tree?
They're tall and white. The bark, I mean.
Yes, the birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this white bark, is waterproof.
All right, so up to that point, what can you tell me about this part of the lecture, Stephanie?
Okay, I understand that their lives dependent on the natural resources, and especially the birch tree that is I don't know, they are tall and wide of the bark. I don't know what is bark.
Good, you're doing good so far. We're going to get there. Even I'm going to show you a picture, all right, to show you what's
Okay.
bark. But before that, what can you tell me about what other characteristics or what characteristic did they mention related to that bark? It is white, right? But what else? There's one thing that is very important.
I don't know. I don't remember more.
Okay, it's in the last part. Let's listen to this part. It's very short.
Okay.
The tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this white bark, is waterproof.
Okay, were you able to hear to that? What were you able to understand in that part?
I don't understand. What is waterproof?
Okay, that's the word. That's the important word. Waterproof. Okay,
Okay.
it's water resistant. Water resistant. Okay,
Okay.
that's right. If you take those into the water, right, they are going to work. So that part, the bar, is waterproof. Okay, and that's very important. And also, I'm going to play that part again. If you pay attention to that part, actually, they are telling you what is bark. Okay, I'm going to play again, just that little part at the end. Try to catch the words, all the words that you can, Stephanie, because if you can do it, you are going to give me the definition of bark. Okay, it's there. Try to pay attention.
Yes, the birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree,
Okay, that's the definition. I'm going to go once again.
Bark, I mean.
Yes, the birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this white bark.
Okay, and one more time.
The birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree,
Okay, so that part, what can you tell me about that part? Let's try to identify.
It's something that protect the tree or something like that.
Outer layer, right? Do you know what's a layer?
No.
An onion. Do you know an onion?
Okay, yes.
Okay, the onion has a lot of layers. Okay, and you peel those layers. Okay, one layer, two layers, a lot of layers. okay? And a layer, it's always surrounding something, right? A layer. So the bark is the protective layer, and it's going to be, all right, in the wood. I'm going to show something to make you understand that one. Okay, and it's going to be this one, Stefania, to finish the conversation. Okay, over here, all right? This is the bark, okay? That's the bark. What is coming out from the tree?
Okay.
All right, that's the one. And if you know, and if you realize, all trees have bark, and that's the specific one. Okay, so again, you have a lot of new words over there, interesting words. We're going to try to keep working with this one because it's really interesting. I don't know if you have any questions or finishing before, well, before finishing the conversation, Stephanie.
No, teacher, no questions.
Okay, there you go. I'll be waiting for you and all of you tomorrow for the oral presentation, all right? Have a good night and see you tomorrow.
Okay, teacher, bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. You're
Bye,
welcome.
Michael.
Hi, Kefa. Hello,
Oh.
teacher.
Hello, good evening, Majo. How are you? Are you okay?
Yeah, fine, teacher. You?
Great. I'm fine, Majo. Thank you for asking. Let's begin with today's practice. You know what we're going to do. Now it's like extra important to take notes because, again, as I was saying to Stefania, here we covered a lot of new words, okay? So it's very important to try to take notes and try to write those words, even though you don't know what that word is, Majo. Try to write the word in the way you would pronounce the word. You would read the word, all right? And then we're going to cover those words with me, okay? So let's begin. Perfect. I'm going to begin playing this lecture. Here we go. Give me 1 second. Okay.
In an anthropology class.
So we've been discussing 16th century Native American life, and today we're going to focus on the Iroquois and Huron peoples. They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region of North America.
Okay, so this is part of the anthropology class, all right? So that's something for sure that we have. I'm going to play once again. Try to tell me, there are two words that are, I know, different, but those two words are very important. And then try to tell me where those things, all right, were located at that time. Okay, so one more time.
Class.
So we've been discussing 16th century Native American life, and today we're going to focus on the Iroquois and Huron peoples. They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region of North America.
Okay, that's the introduction, but it's very important to get this part. What can you tell me about this, Emma?
Teacher, it's about an Irkan and Huron peoples. I think is that a group, maybe?
Okay, you're doing very good, exactly. Do you remember the location of these groups, right, of these peoples, as we call them? Very good.
It's in North America.
Great. And do you remember what region? Do you remember the name of the region in which they lived?
No, teacher, I don't remember.
Okay, so we're going to go to that part. So far, it's very good. Let's listen to the specific region.
They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region.
Okay, so one more time. That's the name of the region. It's very long.
On the Iroquois and Huron peoples. They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region.
Okay, so what's the name of the region?
Redland.
Okay. Actually, there's one word that is not that hard. It's lake, Great Lake.
Okay, lake.
But if we get all the words, it's going to be better. I'm going to help you out here. Look.
They lived in the northeastern Great.
Okay, everything here is the name of the region. In the northeastern, right? In the northeastern, let's continue.
Lakes region of North.
Lakes region, right? Lakes region of North America. All right, the north Eastern Lakes region of North America. Good. So there is where we can find these groups, right? These peoples, the Iroquois and I'm going to play that again.
And discussing 16th century Native American life. And today we're going to focus on the Iroquois
Okay, Iroquois and
Huron peoples.
the Huron peoples. Those are the two peoples, those are the two groups that we're going to focus on. All right, so this is the beginning. It was important to be clear over here. Do you have any questions about this introduction before going to the important part? Majo, let me know, please.
She refer people's like a group. For people is for one peers, for one person.
Exactly, and here's the difference. I was asking this to your partners. The correct in grammar, right? We say one person, but we say two people, right? Because there's no plural of people, because people is plural. But actually, people can be used in many ways. People can be the plural of person, one person, two people, three people, correct. And you don't say three peoples when you are counting persons, right? That's incorrect. But you can use people and peoples when the meaning of peoples is not the plural of person, but is the way you refer to an ethnic group. For example, in Bolivia, right, we have a lot of peoples. You may have people in the Quechua culture, right? And the Quechua can be one people, but inside the Quechua culture, you have a lot of peoples, all right? So peoples in anthropology refers to a group of an ethnic group with an identity, okay? And only in that way, when you're talking about those groups, you can talk and say peoples in plural, okay? Because it's the different meaning. I don't know if you have any questions about that, Mac.
No, teacher.
All right, good. So it's interesting, right? So you know that you can use people in a different way. So in this case, we're talking about two peoples, right? And those are the ones she mentioned. Now, let's pay attention. They are going to, well, actually she, but I'm saying they because there's a student that is going to participate and they are going to talk about something very important. Again, try to get the words in the way they pronounce them because we have a lot of new words. Let's continue.
Back then, their lakes region of North America. Now, back then, their lives depended on the natural resources of the forest, especially the birch tree. The birch tree can grow in many different types of soils and is prevalent in that area. Now, can anyone here describe a birch tree?
They're tall and white. The bark, I mean.
Yes, the birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this white bark, is waterproof.
All right, up to that point, I'm going to play again. Try to pay attention to that element that they are describing, some characteristics of that element, one important part that they are describing from that element, all right? And also one important characteristic of that part that is part of that element, all right? So a little bit confusing, but try to get the characteristics that you can, okay? So I'm playing once again.
Especially the birch tree. It depended on the natural. Now, back then, their lives depended on the natural resources of the forest, especially the birch tree. The birch tree can grow in many different types of soils and is prevalent in that area. Now, can anyone here describe a birch tree?
They're tall and white. The bark, I mean.
Yes, the birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this white bark, is waterproof.
All right. So what can you tell me about this part, Ma? What important information were you able to understand? Are you there, Majo? I cannot hear you.
Sorry, teacher. Sorry, teacher. Yes. For their people, their life depends to natural resource and the forest, especially to the bird tree. Is an private area, and the bird tree is tall and white bark. Teacher, what is white bark? So white is black. It's a color, but bark.
Good. So we're going to go there, all right? You're going to know, actually, I'm going to show you a picture, all right, of bark. You're going to know what bark is. But first, we're going to try to understand, because actually in this lecture, and actually in the part that we listened, they are telling us the definition of bark. Okay, but we're going to go to that point. Before going to that, again, I'm going to show you a picture of bark, and you're going to know what bark is. But before that, good, everything that you said is correct. Just be careful, you're going to say their lives, right, depended on, right, instead of to, on, right? So their lives depended on, good, the natural resources, right, in plural, correct? So their lives dependent on the natural resources of the region, of the area. They are talking about birch trees, that's correct. Birch trees, that's one type of tree, right, as we can understand. And yes, they are describing this birch tree as a tall tree with white bark. It means that bark, if we understand that in a way, is one part of the tree. So I'm going to play this once again. First, to understand what is bark, try to analyze these words and try to take notes here. It's something that we listened, but if you get the words here, Majo, you're going to get the concept and the definition of bark. Let's pay attention.
Yes, the birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this...
Okay, actually, there's the definition. I'm going to go there again, and then again, I'm going to show you the picture, but let's try to understand just by listening to the words.
Bark, I mean.
Yes, the birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this...
All right, so one more time, and try to tell me what words are set here, and that's going to be the definition of bark.
The birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this...
All right, so what can you tell me? What are you able to understand in this part? I think your
Sorry,
microphone is
teacher.
again.
Sorry. Yes.
Oh.
Sorry. The bark is the protect, or the staff is protect. I don't understand very well, teacher.
Okay, you're doing good. We're going to do this together.
White bark. And this tough, protective...
And this tough, protective, what is tough? What is something tough, Mako? If I tell you this is tough, what is a synonym of tough?
I don't know, teacher. It's
it's an adjective. For example, okay, I say one guy, one man on the gym, okay, on the gym, and it's very muscle, or with big muscles, very big, very strong. And I tell you, Majo, he looks like a tough guy, okay, like a tough guy. What do you think then is the meaning of tough guy? What is tough? What could it be? Just in that context, right? This is a big man, a strong man with a lot of muscles and the face, and he's very serious, right? And he speaks like, hey, all right? And I say, that's a tough guy. What do you think is a tough? Or what do you think is tough and a tough guy?
maybe it's someone or something that protect.
Okay, and more than protect, as it's serious, only if you say tough, it's hard. Okay, hard. But it can also be like a bad guy, a hard person, in the sense that, look, it's very strong, all right, it's not soft, right? Soft is the opposite. Your pillow, right? Your bed is soft so that you can sleep, right? But for example, the wall, right? The walls are tough, are hard, like that man, let's say, okay? In that way. So they are describing the bark as a tough, okay, protective, one more time,
bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of
outer layer. What do you think is out there? If you say go out, and they say out there, outer layer, and then layer. Do you know the meaning of layer?
No, maybe out there, outside. It's like outside. So the bark is the part that protects the tree outside.
Okay, very good. You're doing great. Exactly. It's the outer, right? You can say on the outside, but you're talking about the exterior, right? The exterior side.
Ah,
Good.
yes, the exterior.
And the layer is going to be one of those elements that is surrounding, that is around the tree. And actually, it's time to show you this one. To finish the conversation, I'm going to show you this picture so that you understand. Okay, I've done this with everybody because this is not easy. This is what we were talking about. Do you see?
Okay. Yes, teacher.
Okay, good. So that is one important element, and that is one resource that these peoples, right, we will say those peoples used. Okay, so we have that one. I don't know if you have any questions. We're going to keep working on this lecture. Okay, it's a very interesting one. Do you have any questions or comments to finish, Majo? Let me know, please.
Now, teacher, everything is clear. Very clear.
Very good. Thank you for being here then, Majo. I'll be waiting for you tomorrow for the oral presentation. Have a good night and see you. All right?
Thank you, teacher. Bye. Bye, Melanie.
Bye, Anjo.
Hello, good evening, Melanie.
Hi, Luis. Good evening.
Hello, is everything okay?
Yeah, all good. What about you?
Great, everything is fine, Melanie, thank you. So, you know what we're going to do, the same as usual. The only thing, please, again, now it's very important to take a lot of notes because we have a lot of new words in this special lecture, all right? So I'm going to begin playing. The first part is going to be very short. Just try to tell me the things that you are able to understand. There are two words at least that are going to be very different to the other words, all right? Try to write them down in the way that you can hear them, in the way you would pronounce them, even though you're not going to know perhaps how to write them in any way, okay? Just the pronunciation is going to be important. So let's begin.
So we've been discussing 16th century Native American life, and today we're going to focus on the Iroquois and Huron peoples. They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region of North America.
Okay, I'm playing once again. This is part of an anthropology class, all right? But we need to understand what specifically is going to be the topic. To get every detail, let's listen one more time.
Discussing 16th century Native American life, and today we're going to focus on the Iroquois and Huron peoples. They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region of North America.
Okay, up to that part, what can you tell me about this introduction?
That the topic is about the like the born. I don't know the born of America. He mentioned 600th century Native America, so I believe that the history of America, and we are going to talk about the Iroquois and Huron people. That they are from the North America, and I think the East also, but I'm not really sure about it.
Okay, great, very good. We have very important information. The first part, just the first part, you're right, history, right? This is about history, also anthropology. Let's try to get some details like these ones.
So we've been discussing 16th century.
Right, so this one, I think you said 600, but we're talking about the 16th century, right? The 16th century.
Native American life.
Okay, Native American life. So actually we're going to talk about the 16th century Native American life, and specifically right about the ones you mentioned very well.
And today we're going to focus on the Iroquois and Huron people.
Good, right? Iroquois and Huron people. Good. And actually, we don't say people here, we say
on the Iroquois and Huron peoples.
All right, we say peoples. This is a question that I've been asking, all right, to your partners. So here, what do you think that she's saying peoples? In what context do you think that we can use peoples, man?
I don't know, maybe when we are talking about some tribus or something like that.
Okay, good. Yes, actually you are on the point. Yeah. When we're talking about ethnic groups, right, that have an identity, right, we can call that a people or peoples, because it's not the same. It's not the plural of person, right? People. No, this a group. Good. Very good. So these are the two peoples we're talking about here. Now let's listen again to the specific location.
They lived in the northeastern Great Lakes region.
So you were right? Eastern, northeastern Great Lakes region, right, of North America. So this part has to be clear. I think it's very clear. Do you have any questions about this part to go to the main part, Melanie? Let me know, please.
No, all good.
Okay, great. Let's continue then.
Of North America. Now, back then, their lives depended on the natural resources of the forest, especially the birch tree. The birch tree can grow in many different types of soils and is prevalent in that area. Now, can anyone here describe a birch tree?
They're tall and white. The bark, I mean.
Yes, the birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this white bark, is waterproof.
All right, up to that point, what were you able to identify or recognize over there?
So the professor is talking about these tribus, ethnic groups, and he mentioned that at that moment they depend a lot of the natural resources. So the forest was this place was the forest, and he mentioned a lot that they were looking for birch trees, and this birch that I think it's just birch, but these grow in trees, and they were really easy to find in different areas. The characteristics of this is that it's tall and it's white. Bark, I believe that is like cortez or something like that, but I'm not sure. And then mention that is white, and also this bark is waterproof.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we're very well once again. Just want to tell, you're going to tell me if that word that you're telling before tree, right at the beginning, it's one part of that tree or is something else. All right, just that one. And let's play also once again, because you're going to tell me first if this tree can grow anywhere or only in certain places. All right, you're going to tell me also if there is a lot of these trees in that specific region or not that many, or perhaps in other regions that are close to that one. And you're going to try to remember you used Spanish. Instead of using Spanish, don't do it. Try to use the definition that she's going to use. In a certain part, she's defining bark. Okay, try to use those words, and that's why I'm going to play again. All right, so let's do it once again.
Especially the birch tree. Now, back then, their lives depended on the natural resources of the forest, especially the birch tree. The birch tree can grow in many different types of soils and is prevalent in that area. Now, can anyone here describe a birch tree?
They're tall and white. The bark, I mean.
Yes, the birch tree has white bark. And this tough, protective outer layer of the tree, this white bark, is waterproof.
All right. So what can you tell me related to those questions about where this grows and if it's like that place in which it grows a lot or not? And if you can give me the definition of that word, bark, and also tell me what is referring to birch, if it's one part of the tree only or something more general. So what do you say?
So yeah, it's like the same element. So birch tree. So I believe that is part of the tree. And they mentioned that this can grow in many southeast area, I think it's the word. And the bark is like the part that is protecting the tree.
Okay, very good. Okay, you're getting absolutely everything. Everything is very good. Just that word, they can grow in many types of soil, right? And the soil is like the ground, the land, right? Many types of soil, and it's prevalent, right, in that area. So good. And the bark, right? When we talk about the birch tree, it's that type of tree, right? It's one type of tree. In this case, it's the birch tree. And the birch tree, which we can say it's the name of that tree, has white bark. And the white bark, as you were saying, is a tough, right? As she described, the professor, it's a tough, protective outer layer, right? Tough, protective outer layer. And as I was doing with your partner, before finishing in these 3 minutes, I'm sharing my screen once again, just to show you that first and play the last part. So there you go, right? This is what I showed to Majo. So there you go. This is the bark, right? And that's the name of the tree, the birch, and that's the birch bark. Now, it's very important, it mentioned that it's waterproof. So in these 2 minutes, let's listen to the ideas that she's going to develop related to that last element, right? Being waterproof. So here we go. And all right.
And this waterproof quality of the bark, it made it useful for making things like cooking containers, a variety of utensils. And if you peel birch bark in the winter, we call it the winter bark, another layer, a tougher inner layer of the tree, adheres to the bark, producing a stronger material. So the winter bark was used for larger utensils and containers.
All right. In this part, to finish, what can you tell me about this last part, Manny?
That the waterproof characteristic of this tree was really useful, especially I just catch two things. The first one was in cooking containers. So she mentioned a word, but I believe that is kind of the tools that you can use cooking. And the second one, it's that they know this tree also for the for winter bark, because they use this this tree for also containers, but I'm not really sure what type of container related to the winter.
Okay, great, exactly. Okay, and in this minute that we have, we're going to play just those two parts.
Tree adheres to
there's one important word that you were saying, right? Those tools.
Bark. Another layer, tough.
That's the outer layer, the winter bark.
And if you peel birch bark in the winter,
so in a specific season, winter, in that specific season, all right, you had a different bark. It's an inner layer, all right. So the bark, the white layer, the white bark is the outer layer. And in the winter, when the bark peeled, you had an inner layer that was stronger, tougher than the white bark, and it was used to do other things. And the word that I to finish this is this.
Made it useful for making things like cooking
You said that
containers,
very well, cooking containers and
a variety of utensils.
right? That you were right, something that you may use in the kitchen, perhaps, to cook and do other things. And that's it. Do you have any questions about these words and these elements, Melanie? To finish, let me know, please.
No, all good.
Okay, very good. All right, so we have a lot of interesting and perhaps new words over there. It's important to take them into account. That's it again. Thanks for being in today's conversation. I'll be waiting for you tomorrow, all right, for the oral presentation. Have a good night,
Yep.
Melanie.
Thanks, Luis. See you tomorrow.
You're
Bye bye.
welcome. Bye bye. See you.